electric cars are boring, right? Well, Hyundai might argue otherwise. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N. Now, if you had suggested that the Ioniq 5 was the perfect platform for a hyper hatch, I probably wouldn't have agreed. I didn't actually really like the way the Ioniq 5 drove before it was facelifted and Hyundai improved the suspension anyway. Now it's pretty good. But I definitely wouldn't have said that, you know, this 4.7 metre family hatchback was ideal. However, Albert Biermann knows better. Now, Albert is one of the top cheeses at Hyundai, and for many years he was the head of dynamics for BMW's M division. He was the bloke that made all the BMW M cars handle well. But now he's there with Kia and Hyundai, and he has been turning Hyundai around and developing a reputation that they have now earned, I think, with cars like the i20N and the i30N, and he has really kind of made them into a real performance brand. Now he's turned his attention to electric cars with the Ioniq 5N. Now this thing, so it's an 84 kilowatt hour battery and it has got 641 brake horsepower. That, by the way, is what you get in a Lamborghini Huracan Performante. We are not messing about here. This is not Golf GTI territory. This is supercar territory. It's absolutely off the scale. By the way, you also get 545 foot-pounds of torque. That is 740 newton meters, if you like your newton meters. All of the twist going on there anyway. And that means that it's good for a 0 to 62 miles per hour of 3.4 seconds. Four-wheel drive, adjustable torque bias so that you can send more twist to the rear when you want more playful handling, adjustable suspension, adjustable traction control and EDIF, a drift mode, a race mode, a simulated 8-speed gearbox and 3 different noises to go with it. Plus 2 configurable N modes so that you can set the car up just how you like it. There's even an N grin button for 10 seconds of maximum power at all costs when the electric motors in the 5N will spin at up to 26,000 RPM. Blimey. It pops and crackles, and it's got a rev limiter and everything. It's amazing. Right, I shall gather myself to do something other than drive like a complete hooligan. This thing is unlike any other electric car. It is remarkable. So, the 5N, yes, it's fast. We know that. I mean, you can see that from the paperwork. 3.4 seconds to 62. You've got your launch mode and all of that stuff. But actually, what the real story here is that this thing is, it's a proper performance car in terms of the handling. You could take this on track and it would be an absolute joy. It would be a total ball. I haven't done it myself, I will confess that, but I'd love to. This thing's got a drift mode, and so it's really set up for track use as well. They've even actually, the brake regen is especially set up for a track mode, and they reckon that you can reclaim as much as 44% of the energy, of your braking energy as you're going around the track and stuff. Anyway, on road, which is where most people are going to drive it, it's equally just as brilliant. Because the thing is, even at normal road speeds, because let's face it, it's quite hard to find a road where you can actually use the performance of a car that can do 0 to 62 in 3.4 seconds. You know, a 600 brake horsepower car these days, it's quite hard that to think that it might be appropriate. Just the noise. Listen to the noise. Yes! But the way that this thing goes around corners, even at fairly normal road speeds, you know, in a completely moderate fashion, it's got such a great front end. It feels really keyed in to what you want it to do. The steering's got a really nice feel to it. It is really quite sort of poised and lively and fun. And that's just such a tricky thing to do, because let's face it, this is a 2.2 tonne car. It's not a light car. I would add, for some context, I think it's good to know that, for instance, the BMW M5 is 200 kilograms heavier than this car. So it's not alone in being a bit heavy. for a performance car. And I think it would be probably stretching the truth to say that it feels light. This feels like a car which is exceptionally alert, like I said, and yet you are conscious of the fact that it's quite big and exceptionally powerful, and it's not a little delicate balletic little handling car. It's quite brutal, but that's what's fun about it. I mean, and the fact that you can drive it really smoothly and it just gels the way it goes down the road, and it always feels really kind of, you know, fun. It's exciting. And you don't have to be doing ballistic speeds to find that out, and I think that's so crucial. And I mean, you know, maybe this isn't really the point that people want to be hearing about the 5N, but I've actually been driving this car for a week now. I've gone to the gym in it, I've taken my daughter to clubs in it, I've done all the usual boring stuff. I went to the supermarket in it, did a shop. This is still an Ioniq 5. It's got a big boot, you can get people in the back of it, it's really spacious, and actually the suspension in this car, if you just set it in its normal modes, because you've got another drive mode button here and you can just stick it in eco even and potter around, and it's quiet, it's comfortable, the suspension calms down, although I point out even in the more sporty settings, when the suspension firms up, it's not too bad. You get quite a lot of vertical movement, but it's still controlled, that's the thing. But in standard eco and normal modes, the suspension is really quite good. This is a great family car still, and yet then all you need to do is activate your N mode or go for the N grin button. Oh no, I think I've nearly lost cameraman Ben in the back of the car then for a second. This is not a slow car. The performance in this thing is, like I said, brutal. One of the reasons why the 5N is so good even at normal road speeds is because of these. So this car has an 8-speed gearbox. Of course it doesn't, it's electric, but it has mimicked an 8-speed gearbox, and it is really good the way it goes about things. So you can have it in standard drive mode and it does its own thing. You can hear it kind of blipping away in the background there, but it actually mimics that sense of having control over the car's momentum by using the brake regen and, I don't know, just witchcraft, I think. Not sure quite what Hyundai have done, but it's incredible. And it really does give you a sense of proper control over the car. It feels like a gearbox. And I know it's not a real gearbox, I know, but it's just brilliant. It just makes the car so fun. I think it's a real key reason why this car is so good. And of course, talking about all the adaptive stuff and the gearbox, the sounds are also a big thing with this car. So this is ignition, which is all about the petrol engine. It pops and crackles and everything. And you've got evolution, which is kind of Hyundai's idea of the future of performance sounds. It's pretty cool. And then you've got supersonic, which is jet engine inspired. It's very clever. I actually really quite like, I don't mind them. I actually really like the evolution one as well. But, I mean, it's all about the popping and banging and the crackling and it's all about that for me. And, okay, as you can tell, I am very won over by this car, but I am going to say a few things about the fact that I do find it perhaps a bit too complicated, because it's got the 2 configurable modes. That's great, you can sit static, faff about with that and figure out what you like. Great, play about with it. I think that makes a lot of sense. But then you've also got this button here, controls the e-gear shifters. You've also got your drive mode button here, which toggles through your normal eco, normal sport, and the N-grin button, and it can all just it's all just a bit, there is a lot. And some people might really not like that. Some people, particularly of more of a purist attitude, might want a car that's just set up to be a sports car, you know, at most maybe a sport button or an N button, you know. I could kind of see the argument there, and yeah, I do think this all works really well. And the adjustability of it is part of its real kind of selling point and why it's so good. So I'm all for it. It is a bit complicated and it does take some time to get used to it and figure out what all the modes do. I will say that about it. And it does have an absolutely appalling turning circle. So you are not particularly going to want to spend a lot of time in multi-storey car parks, especially because the alloys are also quite sort of a bit catchy curby, let's say. They're a bit easy to damage. But that's really it. Other than that, I absolutely love this car. It is a joy. Okay, so it's fun, really fun. But how far will it go to a charge? Well, in the real world, you're looking at about 200 miles in summer running, and I wouldn't be surprised if that drops to as little as 150 miles in winter. On track, well, we haven't tried it, sadly, but even with the clever regen settings, you'll want to know that there's a charger on site or just up the road, ideally that can support the ultra-rapid 240 kilowatt charging speeds. There's also the small matter of the Ioniq 5N costing £64,000. But then, for the performance of a Lamborghini and the practicality of a family hatchback, well, you could argue that's quite good value. But I don't really care about any of that. And I don't care that this doesn't really have gears and that the sounds come out of speakers. I'm absolutely blown away by this car. It is battery-powered, irrevocable proof that purist petrol heads, car enthusiasts, can find a kick in an electric car. It is just an absolute joy, and I want one. In fact, I actually would quite like two. Right, while we've got you, don't forget to head to CarGurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars. There aren't any Ioniq 5Ns yet, I did check. But do go there, we've got loads of brilliant used cars. And while we've got you, you know what to do by now. I've told you loads of times. Like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so that you don't miss any of our videos.